Hi guys, we're looking at Ethereum dominance today and Ethereum against Bitcoin specifically then, which we call Ethereum dominance because Ethereum is starting to show signs of dominance and has been so actually the last couple of months. We're looking in this case at the 20-day chart of Ethereum and Bitcoin, and you'll note in 2020 then, where the chart turned green on the 20-day, that was when Ethereum took off. And it gave us a warning sign once it broke through the 20-day. Was just down, down, down on Ethereum dominance from there. Now, currently, Ethereum did give us the green signal in July, and you will note that slightly before then, it actually gave the breakthrough. But it had given a false breakthrough there. So confirmation is more when we get the green. And Ethereum did go up nicely, but we're getting this pullback on Ethereum dominance. Now, you'll note here we also had Ethereum going up and then had a little bit of a pullback phase. It was not very strong. It did make the indicator line turn red there. And then Ethereum proceeded up, 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 up. And that was then the bull market. So we've had a very strange market thus far for both Ethereum and the altcoins. Ethereum did flash the green here. Ethereum is in a red phase. So the question is, what is going on with this market as a whole? And will Ethereum now carry through and actually run up? Bitcoin's chart is looking horrible. As we've said, the 16-day has gone red. And when the 16-day goes red, I think I'll just go quickly show you that. But the point here is Ethereum is doing basically what it did in 2020, going green, going a bit red with a small pullback. Pullback is slightly larger here. And then it broke through the moving averages of this dominance and it went up, up, up. You'll note also the time period, and this is why everything gets strange. From when it, you can say, broke through that line was in July 2020, and you can say the peak was then reached in November, so only about 6 months, 5 months later. So could we have a 5-month up run and a different type of cycle here? Or is Bitcoin going to fall and Ethereum not fall off as much for this dominance to stay? I think that would be a stranger scenario. We quickly look at Bitcoin itself just. And I'm going to go to the 16-day just. I wanted to show you again. You see, we touched on this on previous videos. Every time Bitcoin it went on this 16-day red, came down to our yellow line, bounced a bit there, and then crashed through under the white, as you can see there. And then once it finally went over the 16, that's when the bull market restarted. So again, for these lines and these things that can give you a very good indication of the markets and re-entry points, join Ape Trading Club, get your Ape Trading Club NFT, and join me in Discord on Ape Trading Club. If you want to see some of these charts, we'll post them for you. You can chat to me there. So this is our major problem currently, is the fact that the 16-day has turned red already, and we're on the yellow line, and every time this has occurred in Bitcoin's history, Bitcoin has gone under the white line, and the white line is located here, the white moving average at about 55,000, and as you can see, it usually goes a bit lower than that. So this is a major concern, and other indicators like the 50 SMA that turned as well. The dev cross is not very accurate, as our dev cross is only like 50% probability of going up or down, but the 16-day indicator here for so far is a 100% indicator on Bitcoin. I've looked at the SPX. The SPX does not have, such a big growth from 23 to 25 and percentage wise compared to Bitcoin, and that is why Bitcoin usually has bigger corrections. On the SPX, there have been one or two instances where it turned red on the 16-day, and it did fall still a bit lower, like in between the yellow and the white line, and then proceeded upwards. So now it's a bounce, just like a bit down there and then up. So the SPX tells us if Bitcoin is getting bigger and is getting a bit more mature, it's possible that it does not actually need to have this massive drop it's always have. Things do eventually change. Gold, for example, once its ETF had been approved, of course, there was also some pullbacks. Gold basically ran up for about 10 years straight. So we got the doomsday scenario on the one hand, where we could have a massive crash. The stock market is due for a massive crash. Most people do think, however, the stock market can go to over 7,000, 7,200, 7,300 still. That would be that 100% it usually goes before it has a 50% correction. So if we can get the stock market to go above 7,000 still, then the question is if Bitcoin could not have that extra leg up. So far, it's looking dire. The only thing that's making it look like also that like there could be a run is the fact that Ethereum's chart, 20-day chart, is looking like that. Another thing for Bitcoin on the 3-day chart is basically the question. Here you can see the 3-day chart is very helpful. Mostly once we go over the 3-day chart and the 3-day chart goes green, you can get false jumps over the 3-day chart, like cases like that. Yeah, if we go over the 3-day chart and it goes green, then the probabilities are that you'll get a run up. The 3-day indicator currently is there at 102,000. So if we get above the 102,000, there is a very good probability that we could have an upwards run. Question is if we're not just going to go up to there and then get rejected and come down. And not making it above there. If it's a bearish scenario, that is likely that we might go over it, we might not. If we go over it and we come down under it again, then probably we're going to have a drop, because in general you should have a proper up run from there, especially then we should going into blow off top territory. So I hope I gave you some different charts, some charts other people have not shared with you, and give you some different insights. Currently, we should be, it might be a few days to take, but as we've said, even in the cases on the 16-day chart where it has dropped, after the initial red candle, there was usually quite a green candle upwards and brought us some distance back. So I have to look at this, keep the shorter term time frames in mind for Bitcoin. You can see the 2 days already crossed through underneath here, crossing over the 2-day from, you can see here was some jumping under, but the 2-day was not yet under when the 2 days under, crossing above the 2-day and not dropping back under it might be a possible recovery to a higher level at least. But you can see there we are sitting now, the red is already on 99,624. So it is very difficult to make a full judgment at this stage. We have to see if Bitcoin can can get above that 2-day, two-day can go green, and we can start running up. If it just goes up to over the 2-day and starts dropping under, then the odds are getting less and less. Ethereum, Bitcoin is showing us it does look like Ethereum wants to take off against Bitcoin, and for that to happen, Bitcoin is likely also going to go up. So this is the most dubious signals we've had. 16 days very powerful, but has Bitcoin grown up sufficiently that it can do something like the SPX has done and hold its price? Bitcoin doesn't need to do much. If I believe if Bitcoin starts to go up at least above this level, the altcoins can really start to take off at that point, especially Ethereum first of all. And the altcoin chart, we can look at that at a different stage. Perhaps we will not have the full altcoin season, but if Bitcoin can run up a bit, at least to close to where it was on its previous highs, then we might still get a bit of a strong altcoin run up. Not a full altcoin season. To get the full altcoin season, Bitcoin will likely have to break new highs. So I hope you enjoyed this. Have a great day.